Today we are catching up with the new director of the Nebraska Department of Agriculture. Her name is Sherry Vinton. She joins us here in the studio. Thanks for making the time. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, Bryce.
We are excited to learn more about you. If we go back to the beginning of your ag roots, I understand your family had an implement dealership in North Platte, right?
That's absolutely correct. I grew up in Buffalo Bill's hometown, and my dad had an implement dealership on Rodeo Road. And I grew up riding to school on a Frank's Farm Equipment pickup and listening to KRVN. And then after college, I ended up moving to the heart of the Sandhills, and we lived near Cody Lake, which would have been Buffalo Bill's summer camp, and we brand a buffalo head. So it's kind of come full circle.
Spent a lot of years in the cattle business, I understand. What do you enjoy about, well, one, cattle, and then broadly the agriculture industry?
Oh, I love farmers and ranchers. They're the best people in the world. You know, modern production agriculture is truly a modern miracle. So it's the people that I love most. And as far as ranching goes, you can't beat the Sandhills, and there's nothing prettier than a fat black cow on green grass. So
I understand you've served in a number of different leadership capacities, one of the most recent ones with the Nebraska Farm Bureau. What called you to leadership positions within the various ag organizations you've served within?
Well, truly, after my children were older and I had a little more time and was able to be away from the ranch, as we all know, agriculture has been under threat. There are people that don't understand modern production agriculture, and we've been under attack. And so I felt it was important to tell the story from our perspective, the true story and interface of modern production agriculture. And I started doing this before it was a thing.
When did you first meet now Governor Jim Pillen?
I met him probably, almost 2 years ago. I started observing him first. He didn't know who I was. So I actually purposely ran into him at a Lincoln County cattle feeders event. And I was carrying a big stack of books to go in to talk about 30 by 30 and ran into Jim, and he was just a regular guy. He's like, "Oh, can I help you carry this?" He didn't act like a governor to be. So he's always impressed me.
What have you learned about his vision for the Nebraska agriculture industry over the past 2 years, now serving in this capacity as director?
Well, I think his vision aligns perfectly with what we need in Nebraska. He plans on growing agriculture, defending agriculture, and promoting agriculture. And we're going to grow agriculture through value-added products so that we keep that topsoil here in the state. Of course, he clearly understands that every last bushel must be sold, and exports are still incredibly valuable, and we'll focus on that too. But the more we can do here, if we have that value-added component, we're going to keep our kids here, and that's really the goal, to keep our youth here in Nebraska and living the good life.
Was the idea of becoming the head of the Nebraska Department of Agriculture one you've been considering for a while, or how did that all come about?
I'd never considered it. It was a complete surprise, but a total honor and a privilege to serve the people, all citizens of Nebraska, and especially the farmers and ranchers. And I truly believe in the governor's mission.
Why say yes to this opportunity? You're a long ways away from home here in Lincoln.
I am a long ways from home. It's about 5 hours if you start heading west, and it's a time zone change. I'm on slow time, and this is truly a fast-paced job. But I'm in a stage in my life where I can do this and devote this time to the job, and my husband has the flexibility too. We have 2 adult children and their families on the ranch that are very capable. So it's a good stage, and I feel like I have the experience to really tell our story and promote our products and lead a regulatory agency from the perspective of a true producer. And I think that's important right now.
Well, every time we talk with someone from the Nebraska Department of Agriculture, we learn more about the vast role that the department plays in the state and around the world. But what have you learned, I guess, over the past month of getting into this role? What have you learned about the department that perhaps surprised you?
Well, you know, to frame that a little bit, our department is comprised of 3 main areas. You know, ag promotion and development, which most people think of. And then, of course, there's animal and plant health protection, which people are aware of. But there's also food safety and consumer protection. And that might be the area, especially in rural areas, that we think less about, because we don't have a lot of restaurants that are getting tested by the food inspector. But that's one of the areas that I've learned a lot about, that we have food sanitarians that are keeping us safe, that are testing and inspecting restaurants and testing foods, and then our state lab. I got to tour our state lab. And a governor hasn't toured the state lab for 40 years, but Governor Pillen is going to come look at it. And they not only test our feed and our fertilizer, but they test other samples. Sometimes they're called in on criminal cases by the state patrol to test unknown substances. So it's vital that that lab has the funding and the equipment that they need to do this type of testing for us.
Well, as we begin to wrap up our time here today, I'm sure we'll get to catch up over the next few years and looking forward to that. But what are you most excited about in this role?
Oh, that's super easy. I'm most excited about promoting our ag products, and as a rancher, especially beef, but of course, corn and ethanol and all that goes with that. And the other thing is I'm excited about promoting agriculture to our kids, because that's how we're going to keep them here. 1 in every 4 jobs in the state is tied directly back to agriculture in some capacity or another. So I'd like to highlight that our Nebraska Ag Youth Institute, those applications are due April 15th, and you can find those on our website. And we also have a poster contest for kids in grades 1 through 6, and those are due March 1st, and that's on our website as well.
There's always a lot of things happening at the department, so we appreciate you highlighting those 2 events and all that's to come. Congratulations then as well on the new position as the head of the Department of Agriculture.
Thank you, Bryce.
That is the new Nebraska Department of Agriculture Director, Sherry Vinton, joining us as we catch up with her for the first time. Here on the Rural Radio Network, I'm Bryce Duskett reporting.